You got yourself some in-laws or outlaws. Well, I don't know about you, but I have in-laws, and they're super grandparents to 4 grandchildren, which is why, as we learn how to make this cake, we're dedicating it to them. Hi friends, my name is Sherry Ray, and this is Every Cake Tells a Story, where we learn how to decorate together and love others through cake art, because as I decorate, we'll get to know the individuals this cake is dedicated to. Today, it's Hugh and Mary. They love hiking and family, particularly the grandkids. In today's cake, I wanted to create a scene they might hike past. Island jelly cakes are all the trend right now, and I love trying new techniques, so I decided to take that island idea but create a stream instead. I was so intimidated by this cake though, so let's see if I ran into any hiccups along the way. All right, let's go spread some love-like icing. To make this cake, I started by carving a stream out of 3-layered chocolate cake filled with ganache. I saved all of the cake scraps to combine them into cake pop consistency. Smooshed that on to create a hill on both sides of the stream. Ta-da! One of the most important parts of a jelly cake, chocolate ganache. You'll see me pour liquid gelatin, basically Jell-O before it sets, onto this cake later, so I need a barrier between the cake and the gelatin. Chocolate to the rescue! By the way, when is chocolate not the answer? My chocolate layer was uber thick. I took extreme measures to make sure I didn't get a soggy Jell-O cake. Once that was done, I popped it in the fridge and worked on some decorations. All of the decorations in the water must be made with modeling chocolate. Some of it was colored right from the beginning using colored candy melts, but I also added petal dust to white to get silver and gold. Though they take a bit of time to make, these 4 decorations are pretty basic. Every stream needs some broken branches, right? I just rolled out some logs and scratched them up to make it look like bark. Then I covered them with ganache to make them the right color. The shells had a few steps too. First, I cut them out with my tiny shell cutter. Then I went back and textured them up by adding some lines on them. Curl them up just a little bit and they were done. The seaweed was really easy. I just cut long triangles and twisted and bent them a bit. Rocks are straightforward too. I mixed some different colors of chocolate and broke it off and shaped little pieces. Once I had all these repetitive items done, I could move on to a cute little turtle. I started with a round ball for the shell. I went back and draped a lighter color on top of the shell, though I realized later I should have just done the whole ball lighter. Added 4 little logs for the legs. I secured the legs by smooshing them onto the underbelly of the turtle. That's called the plastron, in case you're wondering. I used a tiny cupcake cutter to make the marks for the top of the shell, the carapace. I'm so smart today, SMRT smart. Added some eyes, and we've got a turtle. At that point, I got to drop these decorations into place on the bed of the stream. Eep! This was the intimidating part. First, I had to bloom my gelatin in cold water. I'm not sure who came up with this technique first, but I followed Kitchen Journal by Kalpana's directions to a T. I've added the link to a couple of her tutorials in the description box below. Then, I added the sugar and water to a pan to bring them to a boil. Once it boiled, I poured the sugar water onto the bloomed gelatin and stirred it on up. Added glue using a toothpick so I could control how much I added. Then it had to cool, so while it did that, I taped together acetate sheets I had. Sprayed it with non-stick spray and wiped off the excess. From here, I wrapped it around the cake and taped it shut. Want to know a secret? My acetate sheets were transparencies left over from a craft because I didn't have a roll of kitchen acetate on hand. Then I tucked it into my springform pan. I should have wrapped the bottom of my pan with saran wrap and taped it to the pan to help prevent it dripping in the fridge as it set. But I forgot. Thankfully, there wasn't a huge mess. And then I poured my liquid gelatin onto the cake. I sure hoped I wouldn't get a soggy mess. From here, it went into the fridge until I was brave enough to unwrap it. The cake has been in the fridge for 2 days because I didn't get to it yesterday, and I'm so nervous. Is it gonna work? Okay, let's find out. Okay. It's not spilling everywhere. Okay, the part I'm nervous about is my transparencies. Do they work as well? Okay, ready? Oh, come on, Kelly. It's working. Ah! It's so cool. Okay, I have to cut this off because that's extra that I don't want anyways, but it worked. Okay. Let me just tear that or cut this before it pulls the rest down. I'm so excited about this cake. It's gonna be so cute. It sure is, but I needed to focus and get back to it. After trimming more of the stray gelatin, I covered the overhanging bits that were on the sides. And here's my hiccup. As the gelatin dried, it started to shrink away from the edges as it evaporated. I just went back over it with more ganache, so crisis averted. I want a cute little fox near the stream. He's a matter of molding fondant pieces into just the right shapes and putting them together. I'm gonna work on him while we get to know Hugh and Mary a little bit. Hugh and Mary are always on the go, but when they settle down here in Canada, they're still on the go because one of their favorite things to do is to go hiking. They will drive an hour out of their way to find a beautiful, peaceful, quiet hiking trail. Hiking is one of the things they love doing with the grandkids too. They'll pick up the kids and just spend the whole day exploring the woods together. There's one particular hike that all of the grandkids just love going on. There's this trail that comes upon a stream, and the first year they found it, Grandma told the kids not to get wet because they had a long drive to get home. Well, one of the kids, Josh, fell into the water. Grandma conceded and let them all get wet. The next year they returned, Grandma once again said, "Don't get wet." Well, who do you suppose fell in the water? That's right, troublemaker Josh. So Grandma let them all get wet again. Now that's become their tradition, and they bring a spare set of clothes for all the water adventures. This story is what actually inspired this cake design. Another hiking adventure included a hot summer day filled with heat warnings and Mary's birthday. We invited her to choose the activity for the day while continuously saying, "What about bowling?" Nope, she wanted to go on a hike. It sure created memories because it was so hot. We were all drenched with sweat by the end. And at one point, some people had tucked into a cool rock cave, and we didn't think they were ever gonna come out into the heat again. It sure made Grandma's day though, and she was so thankful that we all went hiking in the heat with her. One of the things I appreciate about them is how much they love the grandkids and how much the grandkids love them. They have so many adventures together, and everyone loves these shared activities. They do puzzles and aerobie soccer, a fun family game they made up. They attend the local fair and go through adventure ropes courses. They put together Legos and play board games. They have fun in the kitchen and do crafts. They build lots and lots of memories together. And these two just don't slow down. Yes, they're retired and they're meant to be taking it easy, but they're always on the go. They were missionaries for over 15 years in Africa and then in England before coming back to Canada. However, now that they've retired, they will go on these short-term missions trips to different countries to support the full-time missionaries there. Hugh takes his accounting expertise and helps to balance the books and fills in the gap for the missionaries who are on home assignment. Mary, who is an exceptional listener and helper, jumps right into women's ministry and helps in so many different areas. And can you guess what else they do while they're on these trips? Yep, they hike. All right, let's finish their hiking cake. While I know foxes are too skittish and they'd scamper off, he was too cute not to include. I had just a few quick things left at this point. I made some grass by shredding my leftover green modeling chocolate on a cheese grater. And tiny little flowers were really easy with this flower plunger and shaper from Wilton. I covered the gelatin with saran wrap to keep the grass from landing there, and then just sprinkled it on. I placed the fox down, dropped in some rocks and extra twigs and even some shells and the little flowers. And we have my version of the island jelly cake trend, dedicated to my in-laws, Hugh and Mary. Why do all these hikes mean so much to me? Because Hugh and Mary are super grandparents. Josh and I are always asking to go hang out at Grandma and Grandpa's house, and 9 times out of 10, they'll drop what they're doing so they can hang out with the grandkids too. Some of these stories may ring true for someone you love. Maybe they love hiking, or you or your kids have super grandparents. Well, turn around and dedicate this video to them, because we're all about loving others here. All right, click right here, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye, friends.